It's midnight and you are watching Nightline with me, Sabrina Zainal. The top stories. New salary scheme for civil servants by end of next year. And Malaysia will not recognize unilateral sanctions, says Prime Minister. Good morning. We begin with this story. The government has pledged to roll out a fresh set of guidelines for the salary scheme of the country's civil service by the end of next year. Emphasizing the complexity of the process, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the salary alignment study, typically conducted every 10 years, requires extensive coordination across various government departments.
Sebelum akhir tahun ini disambung dengan suku tahun pertama 2024, kita akan berikan beberapa garis panduan supaya terikat dengan keupayaan kerajaan supaya sebelum akhir tahun depan kita boleh umumkan skim gaji yang baru untuk pejabat awam negara kita.
He said this in his speech before presenting the Public Sector Innovation Excellence Awards in Putrajaya on Tuesday night. Anwar said he wanted the review of the Public Service Remuneration System, SSPA, to be completed before the middle of next year so that the outcome could be shared during the tabling of the 2025 budget. During the tabling of the 2024 budget in the Dewan Rakyat on October 13th, he announced the early incentive payments of 2,000 ringgit for all civil servants in grade 56 and below, including contract appointees. The Malaysian government does not recognize the unilateral sanctions or actions taken by any countries, including the United States, for the decision to pass a bill regarding restrictions on foreign entities that support Hamas. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the government only recognizes the United Nations Security Council, UNSC, which is multilateral. Anwar said this when replying to a question in the Dewan Rakyat on Tuesday.
Tentunya kita pertama tidak bersetuju dengan cara dan dibuat oleh Amerika Syarikat. Keduanya, dia tidak mempengaruhi dasar dan keputusan kita. Dan sepanjang semalam, saya menghubungi beberapa negara sahabat dan negara Islam yang memberikan pendirian yang sama bahawa kita tidak mengiktiraf.
The Prime Minister added that the decision to approve the bill by the U.S. Congress has demonstrated the Western ongoing efforts to pressure and intimidate foreign governments or entities that assist Hamas and Palestinians. Anwar also said that Hamas was never classified as a terrorist entity or organization by the UNSC, despite calls from the Western countries to do so. Following this, he added that Malaysia would only need to ratify the implementation of the sanctions list as part of anti-terrorism law enforcement if any group is classified as terrorists by the UNSC. Earlier, Anwar, who is also the finance minister, when speaking at the ministry's gathering, said that he will be joining the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Apec Economic Leaders Week 2023 in San Francisco, United States, which starts this weekend. The Prime Minister said that the decision to participate in the conference was to protect the country's interests from various angles of diplomatic, security and economic relations, and insisted that he would not budge in defending justice and the struggle of the Palestinian people.
Ya, tentunya keputusan ini mungkin tidak menyenangkan sebagian pihak, tapi ya, kalau ia pun janganlah hukum saya sebagai pro-Israel dan menghadapi persidangan itu, karena saya sebagai Perdana Menteri saya nak kena jaga kepentingan negara ini, nak juga keselamatannya, ekonominya, kesenangannya, dan tentunya tidak berganjak dari sudut menyatakan sikap saya.
There's always that
Apec is a regional economic forum established in 1989 to leverage the growing interdependence of Asia-Pacific. The 21 Apec member economies account for nearly 40% of the global population, nearly 50% of global trade, and more than 60% of U.S. goods exports.
Reacting to the conversation that we've had thus far, and particularly.
Meanwhile, the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC's investigation into Aman Palestine Berhad in connection with alleged irregularities over its fundraising activities for the Palestinian people is still ongoing. Its Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki said MACC forensic officers were still looking into the documentation obtained from the NGO.
For now, the forensic officers still looking to the documentation. A lot of documents we have to look, especially to regard report for the report for 2020 to 2022.
2020 to 2020.
Yeah.
Not the recent collections that they have made.
Recent collection we can investigate so much because that is still ongoing. Kalau laporan tentang kewangan ni, you have to finish for the year. So we cannot do forensic for the current one. Okay?
Speaking to reporters at an event in Putrajaya on Tuesday, Azam confirmed that for now, the graft buster has not yet summoned any witnesses to have their statements recorded. He also said that there were no investigation on other NGOs other than Aman Palestine. It was reported previously that Perlis Mufti Datuk Muhammad Asri Zainal Abidin, through a letter dated on August 24th, had instructed the Perlis State Islamic Religious Affairs Department, JAIPS, not to permit the collection of funds by Aman Palestine in places of worship and relevant religious premises within the state. Muhammad Asri also had expressed reservations about Aman Palestine's collection and distribution of funds, calling for more transparency on the matter. Subsequently, the state religious authority suspended fund collections by Aman Palestine in Perlis, effective October 12th, pending the completion of a probe. Now, as the world continues to condemn the Zionist regime's atrocities against the Palestinians, services in Gaza are now closing to breaking point without fuel supplies, and none of the 569 aid trucks that have reached the enclave so far were carrying fuel. Not only that, it was also reported that all bakeries in northern Gaza are out of service due to the Zionist attacks and a lack of fuel. Meanwhile, Israel said its forces have surrounded Gaza City, home to a third of the enclave's 2.3 million people, and are poised to attack it soon. It also claimed that they would give Palestinians who are still trapped inside the city a 4-hour window to leave on Tuesday. While Israel's military operation is focused on the northern half of Gaza, the south has also come under attack as 23 Palestinians were killed in 2 separate Israeli airstrikes early on Tuesday in the southern Gaza cities of Khan Yunis and Rafah. So far, the death toll in Gaza has gone up to 10,328, including 4,237 children and 2,719 women. In another development, the European Union (EU) sent 8 flights of humanitarian aid to Gaza on Tuesday. Following this, Commissioner Janez Lenarčič promised more support, but emphasized that access was key to reaching the most vulnerable. He also said that it is paramount that all the parties involved finally heed the numerous calls to ensure unhindered and sustained humanitarian access as mandated by international humanitarian law. The flight, carrying almost 115 tons of aid supplies, took off from Belgium's Ostend airport to Egypt near the Rafah border crossing point.
Kalau kita sebut Maznah binti Ismail, saya fikir tak ramai yang kenal pun. Tapi kalau saya sebut Mona Fendi.
Mona Fendi yang masuk muzik-muzik tu kan.
Malam yang dia dibunuh tu memang kita orang pasang kereta dia masuk.
Fail Mahkamah, Rabu 9 malam di TV3 dan stream secara HD ditonton.
In order for Malaysia to progress as a developed nation, improving academic performance in schools and institutions of higher learning will be a priority next year. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said it is now time to focus on improving students' performance after an effort by the government to improve the physical conditions of school amenities. Anwar said improving students' academic performance is crucial in light of the changing global landscape marked with challenges.
Mulai bulan Januari 2024, penekanan kita selain daripada menyelesaikan hal-hal yang asas prasarana. Saya dah beritahu pada Saudari Fadlina Siddiq, Menteri Pendidikan dan juga Menteri Pendidikan Tinggi, Sri Khalid Nordin, tumpuan kita ialah meningkat dan mengangkat mutu pendidikan. Itu cabaran.
The Prime Minister said this when launching the pilot project on redeveloping dilapidated schools at SK Bandar Baru Bangi on Tuesday. He said the ministries must draft proposals to improve students' academic performance a week after school reopens. Anwar also said he will raise the quality of education at this Friday's cabinet meeting. In other news, the government has no plans to introduce a new bill to tackle race, religion and royalty, 3R issues, while promoting national harmony. National Unity Minister Dato' Aaron Ago Dagang said the government conducted extensive dialogues in July to assess the effectiveness of the existing legislation and explore alternatives.
Kalau keadaan mendesak dan kerajaan memikirkan bahawa undang-undang sedia ada perlu dibuat semakan semula atau pindaan bagi mengekang elemen pemusuhan antara kaum dan agama, maka kementerian akan menyokong penuh hasrat tersebut.
The minister said that the National Unity Special Task Force in 2019 has proposed enacting the Racial and Religious Hate Crimes Bill, National Harmony and Reconciliation Bill, and the establishment of the National Harmony and Reconciliation Commission. He said, however, all of these proposals were not considered suitable for implementation at that time. The Malaysian Meteorological Department, METMalaysia, issued a warning on Tuesday saying that the northeast monsoon is expecting 4 to 6 episodes of heavy rainfall on November 11th until March next year. Heavy rainfall episodes are expected in Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang, Johor and Western Sarawak from November 2023 to January next year. In a statement, METMalaysia said if the monsoon winds are strong and coincide with the presence of a low-pressure weather system, continuous heavy rain can occur in other states of Malaysia. Continuous heavy rainfall for several days can lead to flooding in low-lying and flood-prone areas. It said that if continuous heavy rain occurs simultaneously with high tide events and storm surges, the risk of flooding can become more extreme. Furthermore, sustained and strong northeast winds can cause rough seas, a risk of rising sea levels, and large waves in the South China Sea. The department has urged people to be prepared to face the monsoon and be vigilant to the information, advice, forecast, and warnings from METMalaysia through its official media and webpage. Indonesia top judge dismissed over controversial ruling that favored President Sun. News from the foreign front when we return. We're back with the foreign front. An Indonesian judicial ethics panel on Tuesday found the Constitutional Court's Chief Justice guilty of a conflict of interest over his part in a ruling that allowed President Joko Widodo's son to run for the vice presidency. Anwar Usman, who is the president's brother-in-law, was ordered to step down as the court's senior judge for his failure to recuse himself from a case that favored his nephew, Gibran Rakabuming Raka, who joins the race as Defense Minister Prabowo Subianto's running mate. The ethics panel also said Anwar could remain one of the court's 9 judges, but he is prohibited from participating in any election cases where a conflict of interest may arise. The panel also reprimanded the other 8 judges for violations of the ethical code, including their decision to allow Anwar to be part of the ruling. The panel was formed to probe the conduct of judges amid a public outcry after they ruled a minimum age requirement of 40 need not apply to all election candidates. Opposition troops have captured a town in central Myanmar that is a district administrative headquarters after beating back the military. The Shadow National Unity Government NUG on Tuesday hailed it as a key victory. The NUG said the opposition troops attacked junta soldiers in Kowloon last week before overpowering them on Monday and taking over the town. In a separate offensive, NUG said its troops and those of its allies had taken over another town in Sagaing Division, where Kowloon is also located in a district bordering India. Meanwhile, the UN has expressed concerns about the ongoing heavy fighting between the military and armed resistance groups, which displaced more than 30,000 people. The Myanmar military is facing its biggest challenge from an alliance of armed ethnic groups since its February 2021 coup, when it wrested power from the elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi. In the meantime, the captain of a dive boat that caught fire and killed 34 people in California in 2019 was found guilty on Monday on a federal charge of seaman's manslaughter. 70-year-old Jerry Boylan was convicted by a U.S. District Court jury in Los Angeles on a single charged count of misconduct or neglect of a ship officer under a federal homicide statute. The felony conviction, capping a 10-day trial, carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison, and the sentencing was set for February 8th. He was captain of the 75-foot dive boat Conception when the vessel went up in flames in September 2, 2019, while anchored in Platts Harbor near Santa Cruz Island during a sport diving trip. The fire resulted in a tragic loss of 33 passengers and 1 crew member who were sleeping below deck, making it one of the most deadliest maritime disasters in California. Akia Rashid's late winning goal secures victory for JDT. Sports after this breather. sports, football, the AFC Champions League. Johor Darul Takzim JDT avenged their previous defeat by defeating Ulsan Hyundai 2-1 in Group I match at Sultan Ibrahim Stadium on Tuesday night. Herberti Fernandez broke the deadlock and gave the Southern Tiger the lead in the 44th minute. However, a defensive error in the second half to equalize in the 68th minute before Akia Rashid scored the winning goal for JDT with only 3 minutes remaining. The victory boosts Esteban Solari's squad's chances of advancing to the round of 16. Two national sporting idols from the 1960s who celebrate landmark birthdays this month were honored by their contemporaries and friends in a show of appreciation for their historic achievements. FMT's Danish Rajareza and Tan Chin Tung have the report.
National sporting legends Tantri Dr. Mani Jagadesan and Dato Paduka M. Rajamani beamed with joy as they were honored with a joint 80th birthday celebration recently. Born in Perak 9 days apart in November 1943, the track stars were faded by a host of household names in sports.
Anything that we are today is a sum total of everything that we experienced, we learned from people, we acquired, and so on and so forth. I can think no less than 30 people, who contributed to my efforts.
Thank you very much, and it's one event that I'll never forget in my whole life.
Jaga says he owed his success to the unstinting support of his family, teachers, coaches, and even former Prime Minister Tunku Abdul Rahman.
My family came from a sporting background, Never at any stage did our family say, look, don't waste your time, We didn't have to go through that because our family supported this, and that was a great start, and we could do this.
Known as the Flying Doctor, Jaga represented the country in all 3 Olympiads in the 1960s. In 1968, he became the first Malaysian athlete to qualify for the semi-finals in the 200-meter sprint in Mexico. He also excelled in the field of medicine and served as the Institute for Medical Research Director and the Deputy Health Director General. Rajamani spoke fondly of how her father roped in coach R. Supia, who nurtured her into a top-class athlete.
After my Form 5, my hobby was sleeping. My father couldn't take it anymore, so he went to the field, spoke to Mr. R. Supaya, brought him to the house and told him this. I don't want to see my daughter in the house between 4 to 7. Do what you want with her, but I don't want her in the house.
6 months after training with Supia, Rajamani qualified for the Tokyo Olympics in 1964. The Queen of Speed went on to become a 7-time Southeast Asian Peninsular Games gold medalist and the first female athlete from Malaysia to bag gold at the 1966 Bangkok Asian Games, winning the 400 meters in 56.3 seconds. Sports administrator Karu Selvaratnam, who organized the celebration, expressed sheer admiration for the 2 iconic figures.
May I say how proud we are to honor legends like you, both of you, for the glory you brought, the contributions that you gave, and the achievements that you attained during the period of amateurism through sheer desire and passion.
Danish Rajareza and Tan Chin Tung, FMT for Nightline.
When Nightline returns, casino heist, cops tracking down mastermind, case almost solved. Thanks for staying with us. Police have recovered 428 casino chips worth 2.9 million ringgit and are also tracking down the mastermind and 4 others involved in a casino heist in Genting Highlands on October 28th. To date, police have arrested 10 individuals, including a Chinese national aged between 30 and 59, who exchanged the tokens. Pahang Police Chief Datuk Sri Yahya Othman said initial investigations revealed the casino management were alerted on the theft at about 10 a.m. It was believed that the suspects arrested had familiarity with the casino and possessed special privilege cards, enabling them to redeem tokens for cash. Police are still tracking down the mastermind, a 44-year-old from Raup, along with 4 others involved in the heist. During raids conducted in several areas, police recovered 149 chips and 16,400 ringgit in cash from the suspects, along with 279 stolen tokens exchanged for cash. However, 732 casino tokens are still missing. The case is being investigated under the Penal Code for burglary. Nightline draws to a close this time around. Before we leave, let's take a look at an exciting moment when Prince William joined athletes from the British Dragons Club in a thrilling dragon boat race event in Singapore. With that, I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thank you for watching and stay safe.